Well, hello and good morning to everybody in North America. Good afternoon, good evening to everybody that's joined us from Europe. We're going to get started in just a very, very short period of time here, less than a minute. So, just a reminder: the webinar today will last about 40 minutes. I'm going to take you through some of my leadership tips and tricks. We've got a chat box as well as a question box, and Tiana is going to join us here in a few minutes, and she's going to give us more of an introduction as well as in terms of some of the things that you can use today to interact with us.
Hello there, Bob. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Tiana. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. What's the weather like there in Sun Peaks?
Oh yeah, I should let everybody know that I am. It's beautiful Sun Peaks today. Sun Peaks happens to be in about 4 hour drive from Vancouver. It is absolutely beautiful here. We've got almost 2 meters of snow, and it's been a spectacular week of skiing.
I cannot say that I am not jealous. All right, are we about ready to get started here, do you think?
I am, yes, and we're recording now, so let's go.
Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fifth in the series of Robert Murray's Dynamic Leadership webinars. This one is going to be called Nurturing Your Leader Inside. My name is Tiana, and I work with Bob, and I'll be helping to facilitate all of the questions and comments throughout the webinar. Before we get started, I do want to introduce Bob to those of you online who don't already know him. He is currently a partner at Incrementa Consulting, which is a Vancouver-based business consulting company. He's also a critically acclaimed author, a global speaker, and a business strategist. His expertise and experience are in the realm of leadership and simple business strategy. The latest project that Bob and I have been working very hard on and we're super excited about is an Amazon bestseller campaign for the launch of the second edition of his first book, It's Already Inside. So that book's going to be coming out. You can actually see the new cover right there on the slide next week on Tuesday, January the 12th. Now, if this is the very first time that you're hearing about the launch and you are interested in more information, then we're always looking for people to join the launch team, help support, or give any information that we want out, because we will actually be doing a free download for 24 hours only on Tuesday, January 12th of the book. So if you're looking for more information, please feel free to email me at tiana@robert-murray.com, or go to the website www.itsalreadyinside.com, and you can get a whole bunch of information as well as a free introduction chapter, or you can follow us on our social media feeds and get a whole bunch of leaks that we've been going through over the past 6 days. As Bob goes through the webinar this morning, or afternoon, depending where you're tuning in from, I'm sure I'll have lots of questions and comments about what he's saying, and I invite you to post them all either in the chat box or the question box. I'll be making sure to monitor everything coming throughout the webinar, and if the question relates specifically to a slide that we're on, then I'll pose it to him right away. If not, then I'll just hold them and we'll answer them all at the end. Everything will be anonymous, so have no fear in putting whatever you'd like down. We'd love to get the interaction because it will most definitely help you guys get the most out of the webinar. All right, without further ado, Bob, why don't you take us through what we're going through today, the leader inside.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much, Tiana, for the introduction. So let's get started, everybody. Today, some of the things that I want to take you through is that the 5 topics that I've got for you today are really coming from my book, It's Already Inside. And for some of you who have read the book, then it could be a review. For some of you who have not, these are what I've discovered over my, I don't want to tell you how many years I've been at this in terms of the leadership game, but these are some of the things that I've discovered that are must-haves in your leadership toolkit, whether you are leading a team of people, whether you're leading a team of customers, or wherever the stakeholder is in your business life or your personal life. These are some of the things that you absolutely must master. So let's get started. And what I'm going to do is take you through what I call microscopes, megaphones, mirrors, and windows. Then I'm going to take you to cloud time. Then I'm going to take you to LBWA, which really stands for Leadership by Walking Around. Number 4 will be Getting Things Done. And then number 5 is just a reminder about everything that we do and how it matters. So let's get started. The essence of all of this is really tied into your brand. And your brand really is one where you are the chief executive officer of your life. Whether you choose to believe that or not, you truly are. And for you to have success in your personal life as well as your business life, I urge you to adopt that mentality that you are in charge of your life. If you don't, someone else will be in charge of your life, and you may not like the destination that they're going to take you on. So, the 5 tips and tricks that I have for you today really are driving towards you being in charge of your life and making sure that you are driving it. So, the first one I want to talk about is what I call microscopes, megaphones, mirrors, and windows. Microscopes, and I love this quote that came from Babe Ruth almost 100 years ago, and he said, "You are only as good as your last at bat." So what he meant by that was that your last sale, your last interaction with your team, your last big success in business, you are only as good as that. And we can never ever rest on the past success, that we always have to be thinking about how are we moving forward. So as a leader, we are constantly under a microscope. And what I mean by that is that whether you're in front of your customers, whether you're in front of your team, whether you're in front of your family, your children, everybody that you are in front of is constantly analyzing and watching every move that you make. And what they're doing then is they're applying some very, very primitive logic that has been part of our DNA for thousands of years, and we're being judged. So everything that we do, everything that we say, we're constantly being judged, and we have to be aware of that. We don't need to, it doesn't need to stop us moving forward, doing what it is we do, but we have to be aware of that. So it ties in with our personal brand. It also ties in with, our written communications, our verbal communications, and as I said, everything that we do. And here's some more information about that. Ties in with what I also call megaphones. So if you're under a microscope and people are constantly analyzing what it is that you do, everything that you say is like you're broadcasting from a megaphone. So I always say to leaders, young and old, be careful of what you say and to whom. Always make sure that when you're having a conversation with someone, you always need to be thinking about, what are they going to do with this information? What do you want them to do with this information? And where do you think it's going to go from there? The second thing that I want to talk about is be careful about what you write. The age that we're living in terms of social media and the internet, everything that we write, you have to assume that it's going to become general public knowledge. And I have seen so many leaders get themselves into trouble with email that ends up being on the internet and social media, in terms of putting information on social media that will become general public knowledge. So when we talk about social media, be really, really careful about the things that you post. You know that. Conversely, though, I don't think we pay enough attention to every email that we write. We have to assume that it's going to become general public knowledge. And I've seen a CEO of a Fortune 50 organization have a private email conversation with one of their employees that employee then took and put onto the internet, and it became a huge disaster for that CEO. The CEO never realized that that could end up being general public knowledge. So everything that you do, you're under a microscope. Everything that you say, it's like you're broadcasting from a megaphone, and you have to be consciously, continuously aware of that. The next thing is mirrors, and this is a great leadership tip and trick that I learned a long time ago, is that when things are going well, great leaders always look at themselves. They always look at themselves when things are going wrong. Great leaders always look at themselves when something goes wrong. They always ask themselves, what could I have done to prevent what just happened? Now, even if this happened with a customer, or even if you have a team of people that report to a team of people that reports to you, if something goes wrong, great leaders always look in the mirror and say, what is my responsibility in all of this, and how can I prevent this from happening again? Then great leaders move forward and they say, how can I learn? How can I teach? And how can I move on from this? One of the key things we have to remember as leaders is never ever dwell on the past. Always use the past as a school, so a place that you've learned from, whatever that happens to be. And then how can I teach from that so that my organization or my customers, whoever it is, my children, are learning from that and we don't repeat that same mistake. The key part, though, is moving on. We never ever want to get ourselves into a position where we're dwelling on the past and it becomes a limiting factor for us that we can't move forward into the future because we're constantly thinking about that past mistake that we potentially made. Great leaders also look out the window, as I call it, when their team has done something great. When there's been a success in business or you have nailed that big account, you've got a huge win in terms of a client or a customer, great leaders always look at their team. They always look at their support infrastructure. Even if you don't have a team of people who are working with you, you do have a support infrastructure. It might be the HR department. It might be the marketing department. It might be the finance department. Great leaders always look to everybody who's in the business and they look to them as the reason why they have been successful. They then go forward and they give recognition and credit to their team members and to others. Thanking everybody for, you may have worked really, really hard individually on nailing a big account or client, but they will make sure that they recognize and thank everybody around them for that big win. And then great leaders also find a way to celebrate that success, whether it's taking someone out for coffee, whether it's buying lunch for the support infrastructure that you're working with, or maybe just bringing people together in a central area in the office and celebrating that big win. Very, very important that when we think about great wins, it's never ever an individual who has been responsible for that. So that's what I mean by microscopes, megaphones, mirrors, and windows. Great leaders also are very, very tuned in to those four key things. And just as a reminder, remember that everything you do and say is magnified as if you were under a microscope or speaking through a megaphone. The great leaders, when something goes wrong, they look at themselves in terms of what can I learn and what can I teach about this? And when something goes right, who do I need to thank for everything that's gone right? The second part is what I call cloud time. And cloud time is something I discovered many years ago when I was in a really, really frustrating position as a junior marketing person. And I was in this position where I was really frustrated with my leader, my manager, who was supposed to be teaching me. And I got myself into a position where everything that I did was never good enough for my manager. And I got to a point where I got really frustrated one day and I decided that I was going to leave the office and I went for a walk. While I was out in a park walking, and I was actually left the office going for this walk, thinking that I was going to resign from my position. And the reason why I went out for that walk was I was thinking about how am I going to tell my wife that I just resigned from the business. While I was out for the walk, I discovered a great idea for a particularly challenging problem that we had that day. And I was fascinated by the fact that here I was out in this park walking, thinking about my resignation, but then this great idea came to me. I went back into the office and instead of resigning, I went to my manager and I told my manager about this great idea that I had. And he loved it. First time that I had ever worked with this manager where he actually loved an idea that I had. And I thought to myself, wow, all I did was go for a walk in the park. So really what I want to talk about is cloud time to me means learning how to disconnect. And I love this quote by Abraham Lincoln, and it said, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I would sharpen my axe for 6. And what I mean by that is that cloud time is one of those things where you need to find a way to disconnect and get away from from whatever challenge you've got. I always find that the best ideas that I've ever come up with have never come to me while I've been sitting at my desk. They come to me usually when I'm out for a walk, I'm washing the car, I'm playing with my dog, I am standing in the shower, or, unfortunately, at 3 o'clock in the morning when I wake up and I get this fantastic idea for a particular challenge or problem that I've got. So cloud time is one of those things that I schedule into my life on a regular basis. In fact, on Tuesdays, I always try to schedule 2 hours on my Tuesday morning, and I've been doing this for a number of years now, where I have no meetings. I'm very disciplined about not doing email, and I find a way to just disconnect. Sometimes I even turn off my phone for that 2 hour period of time. Sometimes I'll go for a drive. Sometimes I'll go for a walk, but I always disconnect. And what I discover is that 2 hours of time out of my week is so valuable in terms of what I get out of it, the problems that I solve, the challenges that I come up with solutions for. I use cloud time to solve problems. It reduces my stress, it recharges my energy, and it helps me to see more clearly. 2 hours out of one day in the week allows me to be more productive throughout the entire week just by taking that time off. So learn to disconnect, find your way, and then be disciplined about being true to it. The next thing I want to talk to you about is what I call leadership by walking around, or LBWA. What I mean by that is whether it's your customers, whether it's your team members, or whether it's members of other departments, there's no better way to really, really connect emotionally with people than to meet them at their place. Whether it's a customer, meeting them there at their offices, or just going around your office. I sometimes will do this and I'll blend it in with what I call cloud time that I just talked about. I'll get away from my desk and I'll get up and I'll go walking around and I'll just start talking with different people in the organization or in the office or with my customers. I'll take them out for a coffee. But the key thing is that I am really, really focusing on them, not myself. I'll walk by somebody's desk and I'll happen to notice something that happens to be on their desk, like a picture. They might have some type of an award, a trophy that's on their desk. They might have a certificate hanging on the wall. They might have flowers that have been brought into them or sent to them. I'll just ask them questions about that. I'll ask them questions about pictures of children that they have on their desk. I'll ask them questions about, hey, it is a special occasion. I see that you've got flowers on your desk. What I've discovered from that is that when you focus the conversation on your customer, your client, or when you focus your conversation on that team member that's part of your organization, you will have that deep emotional connection with them, because everybody on the planet loves the subject of themselves. They love to be recognized. They love to have a conversation about what's going on in their life. What I discovered about most leaders that are not very effective is they spend most of their time talking about themselves. And executives are particularly the worst at this. Sometimes I think that executives love to hear the sound of their own voice. And the ones that are truly effective are the ones that are able to switch that around and listen more than they're talking by asking great questions and then making the person that they're talking to the most important focus at that particular moment. When they do that, what you'll discover is you'll learn great things about what's going on in the business, you'll learn great things about what's going on in a customer's life, and you'll emotionally connect at a deep, deep level. Then you'll discover that it's easier to sell or upsell to that particular customer or prospect. You'll find that it's easier to get things done with team members, and you'll find that it's easier to get support from other people within your organization because of that deep emotional connection. Practice leadership by walking around. LBWA. Do it on a daily basis. One of the easiest times of the day to do it is first thing in the morning. If you walk into the office, make sure you touch base with as many people as you can in the business. If it's a customer, make sure that you're regularly planning in your calendar to make sure that you're touching that customer and finding out what's going on in their life. It's a very, very powerful way of connecting with people. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is getting things done. executing like a pilot. Now, some of you do know that I've been a pilot for a number of years. I started flying when I was 21 years old, so I don't want to do the math right now, but it's well over 30 years that I've been flying. And one of the things that I learned the very, very first day as a student pilot was that pilots are incredibly focused. They have a plan for everything that they do, and it starts on the ground. They plan for where it is that they're going to go, how much fuel that they need to get there, and all the different navigational type of information that they need. The plan then moves into the pre-flight when a pilot checks every aspect of their airplane from the nose all the way to the tail. Every pilot does this before every single flight. And even commercial pilots do this, and you may not notice it, but next time you're at the airport, just have a look outside at the airplane and you'll always see a pilot walking around outside. That's part of what a pilot does, is making sure that their plane is fit for flight. But one of the key things about that is that it gets the pilot ready for that flight that he or she is about to take. The next thing is when they're in the air, the pilot follows a very, very strict plan in terms of where they're going and how they're going to get there. Just like great leaders have a good, solid, strategic plan for where they're going and how they're going to get there. One of the things that I learned on day one of flying was if something goes wrong, pilots always follow a very simple, focused plan. And that quite simply means, and it's 3 steps. So if I was in the air and something went wrong, I would have 3 steps. First, get the airplane under control. 2, find a place to land the airplane. And 3, land the airplane. Very, very focused, and it's drilled into every single pilot's mind. If something goes wrong with the aircraft, a pilot will never pull out the 400-page airplane manual and start flipping through page by page and try to figure out what's wrong with the airplane. The pilot will always follow the same steps. Get the airplane under control, find a place to land, land the airplane. Now, if we bring that mentality into business life, I always tell leaders, keep your plan simple. Have just 3 steps to every single plan that you have, whether it's a big strategic plan or whether it's a project for, I don't know, making some changes in the office. Whatever that happens to be, always keep your plan to 3 simple steps. Why? Because it's been proven over and over again throughout businesses all around the world that organizations that have a 3-step plan execute. They get things done. Organizations that have the 12-step plan rarely execute because it's too complicated and people really don't understand their role. If, though, you've got a simple 3-step plan, it's easy to remember. Just like flying an airplane. If something goes wrong, get the airplane under control, find a place to land, land the airplane. That's what a pilot will follow all the time. Keep it simple, have a plan, work the plan, and then have a backup for when something goes wrong. If you follow this simple approach, you'll discover that you get things done. And as a leader, getting things done is ultimately important. When you're getting things done, you'll get more recognition and you'll discover that you have more success in your professional and your personal life. Final thing to remember, when things go wrong, do not panic. Things will go wrong in your day-to-day life, whether it's something simple or something that's quite major. Do not panic. Take a nice deep breath, get things under control, develop a plan, make sure that everybody knows their role in that plan, and then execute. And it doesn't matter what it is, if you follow this approach, you will be more successful. The final thing I want to talk to you about today is what I call everything matters. Everything that you do in your personal and your professional life matters. And I'll tie it back to the very first tip and trick that we talked about today, which is microscopes, megaphones, mirrors, and windows. Everything that you say, everything that you write, everything that you do matters in your life. And a number of years ago, a very good friend of mine We were talking about the fact that everything matters. And he actually said to me, he said, you realize that the number one ranked professional golfer in the world makes well over $1 million more than the number 10 ranked professional golfer in the world. And I said, well, that makes sense. But then he said to me, he said, do you realize that the number one golfer in the world and the number 10 ranked golfer in the world will play in an average year about the same number of golf rounds? I said, okay, that sounds reasonable. Then he said to me, he said, but there will be less than 1 stroke difference in their overall results. And I said to him, nah, that can't be. So I went and did the research on it. And it's quite simple. You just go to PGA.com, the Professional Golfers Association.com. And I checked the results for 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, and I've just checked the results for 2015. And here's what 2015 results showed. The number one ranked golfer last year by total winnings was Jordan Spieth. Jordan won $12 million last year. Not bad for someone who's in their early 20s. The number 10 ranked golfer was Jimmy Walker. Jimmy earned close to $4.5 million last year. But here's the fascinating part about this. Jordan played played 92 rounds last year. He had an average score of 68.1, and his putting average was 1.644. Why am I saying this? Well, if you look at the numbers for Jimmy Walker, he played 90 rounds, almost the same. His average score was 70, so almost 2 strokes, actually 2 strokes worse than Jordan. His putting average was 1.7 strokes per hole. The difference here between $12 million and $4 million was putting. Jordan was ever so much better at putting versus Jimmy. Now, what does this mean for us as leaders? You might be asking. Well, everything that you do that matters. Everything you do matters. The development that you're working on right now, the coaching that you're getting, the mentoring that you're getting. Oh, and by the way, the coaching and mentoring that you are giving is just as important as the coaching and mentoring that you are getting. The books that you read, the exercise that you do, the sleep you get, every piece of food that you put into your mouth, staying hydrated, having a plan, and being strategic and focused, it all matters. And it's a brilliant one for us to start because we've just started the year. This is 2016. It's January the 6th. We've got 359 days in front of us. Everything that we do from this moment onwards matters. You being here today on this webinar matters because you're going to get information that's going to help you. Even just sitting here listening to me right now, you'll be thinking about other things that you could be doing in your life, personal or professional, that will solve a problem or maybe to move you forward. Everything that you do matters. And so just remember that. Everything that you say, everything that you put into your body, everything that you do in terms of your development will move you forward. And when you are focused more on that than the next person, then you will start to discover that just like our previous slide with the PGA golfers, that slight, tiny differences make significant results, and the differences in those results. That's all I've got for today. Whoops, there we go. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was those 5 tips and tricks. They do come from my book. It's already inside, which is launching on January the 12th. You'll be able to follow my tips and tricks and various insights on leadership through Facebook, through LinkedIn, through Twitter. You've joined us here today, and I see by the attendee list that we've got people who have joined us from all over North America and Europe, and I really want to thank you for that. We do a monthly webinar, the first Wednesday of every single month, same time. We'll send out reminder notices for it. You can reach out to me personally at this email at info@robert robert-murray.com. And you can also check out my company page at incrementa.ca. Just a quick reminder to everybody, it's already inside. The second edition launches on January the 12th. That's next Tuesday. You'll be able to get a free download of the soft copy or Kindle version of that book on that day. It'll be free. Now, the Kindle, if you don't have a Kindle type reader, there is an application available on Amazon.com where you can download an application that you can use to read on your tablet or your smartphone or on your computer. I also urge you to tell everybody in your network about the free download of that book that particular day. And please just spread the news far and wide, because that's my gift to everyone, is to be able to give this book away for free on that launch day.
All right,
Now,
Bob, thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to also add in, we've got a question. We've got quite a few thank yous. People are really loving everything that came. So I am excited to say that if you love this webinar, all these people saying thank you and all their comments, then we definitely want you absolutely to get this free download. We do have a question though, and it's, what do you do when proposing a new idea is a problem?
when the new idea is a problem?
Yeah, the new idea itself, when that's a problem, what do you do?
One of the things that I always do is that when I'm proposing a new idea, quite often what you'll discover is that there will be somebody in the room that will say, we tried that before, it didn't work then, it's not going to work now. Well, there's reasons for that. And the person, you have to think about the individual who you're proposing the idea to, or the team that you're proposing the idea to. People or human beings just naturally resist change. And one of the things that you have to be able to do when you're proposing the idea is propose benefits. Because people will look at the idea and they'll go, in their mind, they're going, oh, that sounds like an awful lot of work. But if you propose it in terms of, here's the benefit to you, here's the benefit to our customers, here's the benefit to our organization, then you can start to move people forward. We have to remember that even though the benefit might be really, really clear, people always think about what's in this for me. And if this looks like a lot of work, I don't care if it's going to be a great deal for my client. Boy, this really seems like a lot of work for me. So you have to just keep working through the benefit part of that for individuals, for the team, and for the business and the clients.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I believe that answered the question really quite well. I did also want to remind everyone online today that the recording will be posted onto Bob's website. You can check it underneath the webinars tab. We do this specifically so that if you found something extremely valuable and you want to revisit what it was, you can just go on there and access it easily. It should be showing up later on this afternoon or early tomorrow morning.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Tiana. Thanks for joining me as well. Everybody from around different parts of the world. If you're just starting your day, have a great day. If you're ending your day, have a great evening. And look forward to your comments. Look forward to your questions that you send in during the month, and look forward to speaking with you again next month. Have yourself a great one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.